The past several weeks have been very, very positive for ICP, and we're actually getting a couple of things that are happening right now that I do think signal generally positive for ICP overall. However, we do have a couple of potential risks or potential stumbling blocks coming down the pipe as well. And so I do think that there is a general sense of kind of nervousness or maybe kind of intrigue of which way things are actually going to go. And so there's a couple of things I want to show you guys today as it relates to ICP specifically and kind of generally what we're seeing within crypto, and a couple of different things that I am looking at doing personally right now. So let's go ahead, we'll dive right on in. First off, you can see here on the crypto bubbles, you can't see we're just red on the day. It's like it's been kind of flipping back and forth though between green and red, which means we're pretty much, I would say, about close to even on the day here. You will see here we do have a couple of fairly large red coins. We will also see a fairly large number of green coins on the day. So it's a bit of a mix going on. Most importantly though, I will say you can see here Bitcoin is down 1.2% on the day, 1.9% on the week, and close to 10% total on the month. You could see here also, let's actually look closer towards the week. You can see just tons of just whiplashing all around. We could see, 99 all the way up to like almost 104, then back to 101, then we go up to 106, then back to 102.5, then we go up to 105, then we go back to down to 101. It's just been all over the place. And so this is really giving, I think, altcoin holders a particularly difficult time getting a read on what is actually going on. Now, the important thing here that you will see is that the government for the US is now open. So this is going to resume liquidity flowing through the market, which I do think will kind of get rid of some fears that have been going through. There were I think a lot of liquidity fears kind of circulating. So the fact that that is largely taken care of at this point, I think is a very, very good thing. Now, also at the same time, we've dipped into extreme fear. You will see in the past when we have dipped into extreme fear, it has generally been close to kind of like the Pico bottoms of Bitcoin price action. And then generally we see Bitcoin see a really, really nice move up from there. Now, why do I go through all this? Why am I talking about things not directly related to ICP? Well, the reason why is if we go look at ICP, you'll see something quite unusual that's been happening here. And that is we are seeing ICP have a really, really nice move up over the past several weeks. Now, over the past few days, we have seen price come down a decent bit, and this is, in my opinion, not an unusual retrace at all, and actually kind of to the opposite. We are seeing some really, really nice structure form here where we're seeing this really nice move to the upside. You'll see here continuous higher highs, higher lows. Well, what you will see here is the lows that we are putting in and the support that we're putting in right here is actually kind of at the level that was the kind of the previous high before we broke out and saw this nice little run. So if we can hold this is a really, really good sign for ICP. We also can see that volume is staying elevated, which is another good thing to see from a coin that has seen this type of movement. So assuming we can hold this level, this is going to be really, really big for ICP. Now, again, holding kind of at or above this $6 range, in my opinion, is going to be very important. You can see on the 4-hour candles, it has held several times now. It does look like we are coming back down and maybe seeing another test here. Now, one of the things that I am looking at very, very closely right now, you'll see this is why I actually have this loaded up on Weex, is because Weex is where I do most of my trading, I would say. However, I do have some really, really good deals with BTCC as well as BloFin. BloFin is doing an exclusive ICP only offer right now, which is really cool. So if you're interested, feel free to check out that link in the description below. And then BTCC is doing a 10% bonus on first time deposits, which is a fantastic offer if you are interested. Now, why I'm showing you this is because I personally am looking very closely at a potential trade setup. Now, of course, you need to be doing your own due diligence. You need to kind of understand, is this something that potentially works for you and your trading strategy? Is this something that maybe you want to sit out? Maybe you trade off of a different strategy, which is totally okay. Now, moving along here, you will see that we have this, we kind of have this opportunity where we are sitting right on this key level of support. So my thoughts are, and what I'm looking at closely is potentially seeing an entry here. We'll put a stop loss, kind of, let's call it, we could either go below this wick right here, which would be a low of about, what is that, $5.57, with an entry at about $6. We're calling it here at $5.55. And then we could see a take profit up in this range. Let's call it maybe like the $8 range, or if we want to go back to swing highs, maybe kind of catch all of the wicks here, let's call it $9.25, you are seeing anywhere between almost a 6-to-1 risk reward here. Or if we go to this lower level, you're going to be looking at more of like a 3.5-to-1 risk reward. So in my mind, this is a very high reward, relatively low risk compared to the reward. Now again, of course, that doesn't mean it's guaranteed. That does not mean it is for sure going to hit. What it does mean though is if you lose, you're losing substantially less than what you could stand to make kind of in either scenario. Now of course, there is always that option where you could set multiple take profits along the way. Maybe you set a first one kind of at this 1.5-to-1 where we're getting closer to, maybe like, let's call it $7. You could even do one closer to this like $6.60 range where you're getting more of a 1-to-1. You could set another take profit like this 3.5 range that we were talking about, and then maybe the final take profit here around the 6 range. Again, this is all up to you. I am not providing financial advice. You need to kind of develop those fine-tuned details of the strategy by yourself. But this is something that I'm looking very, very closely at because to me, this seems like a very strong setup, and I think it is worth a potential whirl to see kind of how it goes. So overall, like I said, that is what I am looking at doing. You, of course, make your own decisions there, but hopefully you can see this would be a really, really nice setup, and this is something that we would love to see actually continue to play out, because if we see this, generally, again, what we're looking for over the long term, higher highs and higher lows, right? So we have a higher high here, higher low there, higher high here, higher low there, higher high here, higher low there, and then of course higher high here. Now you'll see we did put in lower lows from kind of more of this micro structure, but if we look at the major swing highs, you would see 1 here, 2 here, and then 3 here. With those lows, you would see 1 here, 2 here, and then of course we would assume this third one here. Again, you'll see the low never quite going back and touching the highs here. Now this is slightly deviating from that in the sense that it has touched the highs, but I think it's fairly clear to see that we are kind of settling on this range, meaning that the higher low is kind of still intact for now. Now again, if we do break below this, this is of course going to kind of invalidate that structure. This is what I would call kind of the ideal structure. Now of course, we have talked about the world in which we could come back into like the 5.5 range, because that is kind of a fib retrace level. I personally am looking for this as I think this is the strongest setup. So that again is of course what I'm looking at. Again, feel free to kind of make your own decisions there. I'm just looking to kind of share with you what I am seeing and other things I'm noticing in the market. Like I said, we are moving into extreme fear. We are also moving into a period of time where the U.S. government is reopening. This has been us coming out of the longest U.S. government shutdown that we've ever seen. This is going to obviously have some large impacts, and we are also seeing a lot of the sentiment in crypto be really bad in a time where historically this has been a relatively decent time for crypto. So I personally am looking at this more as a bottom rather than a top that we are continuing to sell down. Now again, I could be wrong. I mysteriously have misplaced my crystal ball. So if any of you find it, please feel free to send it back to me. But until then, I am not able to tell the future. So you will have to just kind of do that part on your own. Now, of course, if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, drop that in the comment section because I do like to read and respond to all of those. Also, if you found the information in the video useful, feel free to give me a like and a subscribe. That does, of course, help out tons. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will see you in the next one.